I have to ask you, have you ever tried those so-called magnetic miracle lashes and end up with a mini disaster on your eyelids? Yep, I've been there, and let's just say, ouch. But hang tight, because today's guest is about to save us from all future makeup fiascos. I'm chatting with the fabulous Neelam Kaur, a makeup artist who turned marketing whiz, who built not one, but two blooming beauty businesses. She's spilling every tip on how we midlife women can rock our best face. Think glowing skin, perfectly chosen shades, and insider tricks to help us love every feature we've got. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to avoid raccoon eyes, ditch those cakey concealer woes, and maybe, just maybe, feel bold enough to try lashes again without turning into a joker. Ready? Let's jump on in. Neelam Kaur, welcome to Create the Best Me. This is an honor to have you on the show.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
And you are like everyone's superhero because you make us look beautiful when we don't feel so beautiful.
Oh my God, that's so sweet to say. I think everyone is beautiful, but we just have to get off Instagram and stop scrolling because that is what's really doing the damage.
Exactly. Hey, Neelam, can you please tell the viewers and listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Oh my God. Okay. All of it, bits and pieces of it. I do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats. I bounce around all the time, but I've been a makeup artist since I was 18. I'm now 37. So I've been doing it for quite a time. Bridal has been my go-to forever. It's a hustle. It's demanding, but I absolutely love it. It's such an honor to be in someone's home with their family alongside their loved ones on the most important day of their life. And it is not a job I take lightly, being able to service the bride and the bridesmaids and the mother and the grandmother. Like, it's such a beautiful time. I grew up watching a lot of Disney movies. So that whole fairy tale love gives me all the butterflies, and being able to spend my weekends doing that is absolutely amazing. So I went from being a makeup artist to also being an educator, more so on the marketing side, and helping other makeup artists grow and scale their business as well. And co-founded an app to help them do that too.
Well, I will say right now, girl, you look absolutely beautiful. I love your makeup right now. And I think what I like the most about your makeup is it looks very natural. You don't look overdone. You just look, it brings out your beautiful features.
Thank you so much. I actually did my makeup at about 7 o'clock this morning. It is now almost 7:30 p.m. here. So all I had to do before the show is touch up with like a little bit of powder. But when you're layering correctly, you can get away with a lot and make it last a lot longer.
Well, you did mention that you do makeup for not just the bride, but for mom and grandma. And I'm pretty sure one of the challenges that you are faced with is that mom or grandma want to have beautiful pictures that they can display in their house or show off to everybody, but they want to look beautiful. They don't want to look like they're 20, but they don't want all of the attention drawn toward those fine lines that we all tend to have as we get older. And being that we are approaching graduations coming up, so not just weddings, we have weddings, graduations, and so forth. That's why I invited you on the show, so that you can teach older women how to show off their best features.
This is going to be so much fun.
And not look overdone, of course. And I'll just add right here, there are these two women right here, Selma Hayek and Halle Berry, are women that I personally admire. And the reason why I admire these women is because not only because they're awesome, but because they're 58 years old, both of them. I found that out.
And I had no idea until you told me that. I was like, what?
I know. And they look amazing. They're not overdone. They look very natural and very beautiful. And they are women of color. And being a woman of color, as myself, I find it very difficult to find the right color to match my face, to not make me look like like I'm an Oompa Loompa from Willy Wonka, or, look like a ghost.
I totally understand that. So, especially growing up, there wasn't a lot of selection when it comes to foundations. And I think a lot of the default was MAC NC42. And I think there's a range, a very big range that was using that foundation. That foundation runs really yellow. So, when you're a person of color, especially like myself being Indian, I have yellow tones in my skin. So I do need a yellow based foundation, but I also run neutral in the winter. So for me to use a yellow based foundation, I will go yellow or orange when it oxidizes. So we really got to work on balancing that out. I think trying to find a foundation that matches your skin tone really comes down to understanding your undertone. Like, are you going to be running warm? Are you going to be running cool? Are you going to be running neutral? I know it's a little bit complicated, but the easiest way to do that is just to find a couple of shades that you think are close and really just running them along your jawline and seeing how they set in. Rather than trying to figure out what color your veins are, rather than trying to figure out and all of the other tricks that there are to it, because it's a lot to remember. It gets overwhelming. And it's like sometimes it doesn't always work, especially when you don't have like a color theory background. Like color theory is not something that I learned in school as a makeup artist, something that I had to teach myself and I'm still learning every day. But really just knowing that usually foundation does oxidize and go a little bit deeper, starting a little bit lighter, and also not being afraid of it if it's the wrong color. Because a lot of the times your one color is not going to be the right color your whole year through. And there's things that you can do to offset that. In the summertime, you're going to be more bronzy, more tan. So if you have a foundation that matches you beautifully in the summertime because it does run a little bit more orange, a little bit more yellow, then in the wintertime, it's looking like you're fully disconnected from your neck and shoulders. All you're going to be doing is like not tossing that bottle, not even switching to another shade. Either one, yes, you can use a color corrector, like maybe add some blue in there to kind of change the tone a little. But even easier is using a concealer, just using a lighter concealer through the center of your face under your eyes to kind of balance it out and making it look like the outside of your area of your face is still nice and bronzy. And then the glow matches the center of your face, your shoulders, your chest. And then you naturally are contoured as well without actually doing the contour.
Mm.
I think I just threw a lot at you.
You certainly did. I'm like, holy smokes. I told you that I didn't want to look like an Oompa Loompa orange, and you just threw blue out here. And then you also talked about concealer. And I think that one of the challenges I have with concealer is that around my eyes, under my eyes, and here into my cheekbones, I am very dry. No matter what I do, I'm very dry. I think I set my face up, and we'll go into that after I'm done with this. But I put concealer, and sometimes I look like a raccoon. Just like, whoa, white. It doesn't go. So, for the sake of education, could you please start off by saying, how could I prep my face? I am dry here. My nose tends to be a little oily, and I'm oily here in my chin. How would I prep my face before I even set up my makeup or begin to apply makeup?
So to break that question down a little bit and to break down your issue with concealer, there's two things that you mentioned here. You're like, one, you look like a raccoon because it's bright, right? And then also that it's dry. So when it's bright, we're looking at, is this a concealer that matches your color? Or is this a concealer that you bought to be lighter to do highlighting, to make areas brighter? Because if you're saying that it's bright, I'm assuming that the color is too light for you. And maybe you grab that to do highlighting. Is that correct, or am I completely off here?
Well, I've purchased two different concealers. Now I've gone a little bit of dark. But here's my issue. My issue, other than being dry around my eyes, I have, and this is just me naturally, and I know that Indian women also have this issue, is that I have dark circles around my eyes. I look like I haven't slept in days, even though I could sleep 10 hours and I'll still wake up with dark circles.
Totally
around
a brown
my eyes.
girl thing. Yeah. And then also like around the chin area, we get that all the time. Okay, so we have skin prep, the different types of the different areas of your skin, and then the color correcting, and then the dryness. All right, let's break this down one by one. And I'm going to lose my train of thought here. So jump in, please, and keep me on track. Okay, so first off, let's start with skin prep. So obviously, if you're dealing with dryness, any sort of fine lines, the best thing to do is hydrate the crap out of it. Like really let it soak in. Go do something else after you apply that cream. And if there's anything left before you start your makeup, just give it a wipe to get rid of any sort of excess and then go in with your concealer. But there's a certain way to do your concealer. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. Second, you have areas that are dry, areas that are oily. So the oily areas, other than maybe a light serum, because you still want to hydrate the oily areas, otherwise you're going to get more oil, right? Your body's going to be like, oh, I'm not having any hydration here. I have to compensate by creating more oils. So you do want to use a moisturizer, but maybe if it's a big problem area for you, use it at nighttime, like drench your skin at nighttime. And then the morning after you wash your face, skip over those areas with the moisturizer. Because when you're using a ton of products underneath your makeup, you're using lots of serums, you're using lots of moisturizers. Yes, you need them. They're beautiful for your skin. They're going to make your skin glow, but they're also going to affect your makeup, especially if you have oily areas. Your makeup is only going to last as good as your skincare underneath. So if we are doing makeup for a special event, this is different than everyday makeup. If we're doing makeup for a special event, I would go a lot lighter with my skincare products. All of your fancy serums, creams, things like that, do it the night before. Let it soak in so your skin is beautiful and plump the next morning. Then wash your face, get off any of the oils that are already on there, go in with a very light layering of moisturizer and let it seep into your skin before you even start going in with anything else. So we got our moisturizer. And if you're dry, then go in with all the moisturizer. Amberlease, like creme concentrate is amazing. It works doubles as a primer. Go in with all of it, let it soak. If you have flaky areas on your skin that are like patchy and you can really see the texture from the dryness, not the texture from pores, but texture from dryness, same thing. Apply a thick layer, like a face mask or something. Let it soak while you're doing your hair and then wipe it away. And then you have your base for your makeup. Are we good on skin prep?
Well, you mentioned primer, and you said that there was this particular product that is a 2-in-1. It was a moisturizer and a primer.
Yes, Amberlease, I hope I'm saying it right. I've been using it for years. Amberlease Le Creme Concentrate. It's like a makeup artist's holy grail. I use it on almost everybody unless somebody has really, really oily skin because it has that slip to it and it preps the skin really well for makeup to go down smoothly on it. But if you have an oily T-zone and those oils bother you, sometimes a little bit of oil is okay. Like I have some glow going on my cheeks right now. And I think if I didn't have that, my face would look too flat. So if you have an oily T-zone where you have like a really like disco ball shiny nose and you're like, I don't want to look like this, then using a primer just in those areas, that's going to combat that oil or help the foundation stick better to those areas. Because if you have larger pores in your nose or you produce more oils in your nose, sometimes the foundation doesn't stick. Or sometimes you're so dehydrated that the foundation goes on and then you just see spots on your nose because your skin's absorbed it. So using a primer in those areas like the Milk Hydro Grip or something, the Poreless from Hourglass, something that is going to absorb oil or help your foundation, like it's tacky and it's going to help your foundation stick better, is great just for those areas. Like you don't have to go all over your face because we're still trying to make it look like it's life, right?
Mm-hmm. What about around the eyes? Would you put the primer around your eyes as well?
Honestly, I don't know if you're supposed to or not. So I don't because I have moisturizer there. I have skincare there. And I also don't know if the product in the primer are going to be safe enough around the eye area, if they're fragrance or anything like that. So as a precaution, I don't. I also I feel like I haven't had the need to. I have on occasion with clients with fine lines that were very, very self-conscious about it. I would take a little bit of like eyeshadow primer and put that on the fine lines and then go in with my concealer very, very sparingly.
Okay. Yeah. And just for education purpose, because you just threw something I don't know anything about, what does eyeshadow primer do?
Okay, so eyeshadow primer helps grab your eyeshadow. So there's a couple of things. There's lots of different ones out there, but the way that I like to use them is one, I want to use an eyeshadow primer because I want my eyeshadow to show up better. I want it to grab that color. I don't want it to crease, but I only use an eyeshadow primer when I'm doing my makeup for special events. If I'm doing my makeup for work or like day to day, I'm not doing that extra step. So I will just use my concealer. I'll just use my concealer and I'll set it with powder and then I'll just go back in with my bronzer, do my eyeshadow. But another easy way is when you're doing your concealer and if you have like an oilier eyelid and it creases no matter what I do, my eyeshadow always creases or my foundation is always creasing. Even if I'm setting it with powder, my foundation on my eyes is creasing. just take a little bit of that eyeshadow primer, like a tiny little drop, mix it in with your concealer before you put it on your eyes.
Okay.
And that's just an easy way to keep it in place.
Okay. So you talked about setting your face by putting this 2-in-1 primer and hydration. How long would you let that set before you start doing your makeup, or maybe on to the next step?
5-10 minutes, the longer, the better. Mainly because I don't want to get too technical and complicated here and give you more stuff to think about. But your foundation and your moisturizer, or your foundation and your primer, have to play well together. It's an ingredient thing. If you have a thick layer of moisturizer on your skin and it is like an oil-based moisturizer, and then you're going in with a silicone-based foundation and they mix, they're going to start pilling where you get those little flaky parts that come off. Like, there's a lot of videos out there giving you a lot of information, and really, like, we want to simplify things. So if we just use less of the moisturizer and we let it absorb into the skin so that it's not sitting on top of the skin, when we go in with our foundation, it's not a problem. But then we don't have to worry about matching our foundation with our moisturizer, because who wants to think about that? I don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
Do you want to think about that?
I don't. But I tell you one thing,
No.
I have stopped using primer for that reason, because
Yeah.
I guess I didn't let it sit long enough. Because then I apply my makeup and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have like all this like little silicone.
Yeah.
It feels like, like little silicone bubble, or not, like peels or rolls on my face.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually just like dust them away sometimes. I'm like, it's fine. They'll go away on their own later. But that's the other benefit to using a primer just in the areas that you need it. And also, I feel like if you're prepping your skin correctly and you're good with your skincare, you don't need a primer. I used to use Smashbox Photo Finish on everybody. That was my holy grail for a long time. Watching it on the shopping channel, I remember when I was younger, and I was like, this is magic. Like, this is everything. I was obsessed with Smashbox, seeing those commercials on the shopping channel. And I was using that on everybody for a long time, but I think I just got lucky. It was early in my makeup career, and the foundation that I was using just played well with it. But when I started adding different foundations to my kit, it was not always playing well anymore. And it took a while to realize the culprit.
So then, okay, we've let it set for 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes. What do we do next?
Okay, so next, we're going to go in with our color corrector. So day-to-day wear, I like Vasanti VO2. If you don't have like extreme dark circles, like if it's just like a shading issue, like there's just like a little bit of a shade, you can see a little bit of darkness, then the Vasanti VO2 is so light, it is so creamy, that I just like, I go in and I apply it to like the areas, only on top of the areas that have darkness, because we're trying to color correct. We're not trying to cover that whole area and then spread onto the normal skin tone color, because now you're color correcting the normal skin tone color and that area is going to go orange. So you want to keep it in that very concentrated area, very light dabs of that product, and then just press it in with your finger and let it sit. And we're letting it sit because you want it to dry down before you go in with your foundation. Otherwise, you're just spreading that product around. And again, like if you're in a rush, what you can do is take like a makeup setting spray, not the hydration spray, the setting sprays that really lock in your makeup, like Ergomin Decay, All Nighter, or the Charlotte Tilbury spray. Spray your fingers, spray your brush, and then tap it in. And that'll just lock it in a little bit stronger. You can also build up your layers with that. But if you have darker. If you have more darkness, darker circles, then you're going to need something a little bit more hardcore for color correcting. I'm saying orange because I'm assuming we're talking about brown girls, because like we're both like in like the middle range kind of area. But there's peach, there's salmon. What? There's peach, there's orange, there's salmon. That's probably not in the right order, but there's usually 3. Most brands have 3. So I'm saying orange for like the middle range, but it doesn't have to be orange. Like, I don't even know what color I have here. I have my whole kit here with me. Like the LA Color Corrector Pro Conceal, this is like an orange. This is too dark. This is way too dark. Like I would use this very sparingly, mixed in with my eye cream maybe, and then letting it dry down if that's all I had.
What does that look like when you put that on? Do you look like you got orange?
It's pretty orange. Yeah. So that's like, if when you're using like orange, like you want to make sure you're going with the full coverage foundation afterward, or because like this is hardcore. Somebody that has a lot of darkness, whether it's hyperpigmentation along the chin or certain areas of their face, this actually looks less orange because we're only putting it on top of those areas. But the NARS has really good creamy ones as well. Like this one is in light and this one is like really light. Like that's a very light creamy peachy color. And that one is a little bit less scary to work with. So we apply it and then we wait and go like do something else in the meantime.
I have a question to ask you. Does that
Yeah.
also help with scars from zits? I'm sorry, I get zits.
Yeah.
And because I'm a brown girl, I end up with dark spots on my face that take forever to go away.
Same product, same application. So you want to just pat it in. And then again, after you're putting on your foundation, if you're putting it on that area, you want to make sure you're patting and that you're not like brushing back and forth and moving it around. You really want it to stay set. And then for someone else that has breakouts from acne, if it's a red breakout, like it's fresh, then you're not going to go in with orange. You're going to go in with green because it's on the opposite side of the color wheel. The green is going to cancel out that redness.
Where would the blue fit in? Because I know you mentioned blue.
Blue. I don't know why I do what I do sometimes. So in my mind, like I could be wrong and I'm going to get called out for this later. So do your research before you quote me on it. But I would put blue if something is too orange.
Okay.
That is making sense to me. Is blue and orange across the color wheel from each other? I need to look this up. Hold on. Color wheel. Blue, orange. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. That's exactly what it is. Had to make sure before I make anyone else into like an Oompa Loompa or an avatar. So if your foundation is getting too bronzy, getting too orange, mixing in a tiny bit of blue could help neutralize it. So then that could be like your winter foundation as well.
Oh, so like, for example, this is what I use because, like I said, I'm drier than dry. I use IT foundation and it has a CC Nude Glow. And it's supposed to be little, I don't know, the computer's not catching
I see the bottle. I love IT Cosmetics. I think they have done an amazing job with their line. And the foundation, as well as the color corrector, as well as the BB cream, like they're all amazing. Even the green rescue cream, phenomenal. I've had mothers in my chair. They're like, can I just use my foundation? Usually I'll say no because like things don't play well together. I don't know if it's been compromised, bacteria, all of those things. But then they pull out like the Cosmetics CC cream or like the silver bottle. Even I don't know if they change their packaging. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we can totally use this because it blends into the skin like butter. It does something to the texture of the skin. I don't know what the ingredient is. I don't know how they formulated it, but it literally just, it's got to be maybe silicone because it really does smooth out the skin beautifully. And it's pillowy. I don't know how to describe it, but it's nice. It's pillowy.
I like it because I can smile, I can move my face and not feel like it's going to break. Some products do that. I feel like it dries my face too much. And what I liked about this is that I can move my face without, think it's going to tear or anything like that. And it has SPF 40.
And I think if you're worried about like things seeping into fine lines or like texture, I love silicone-based foundations for that because the molecules are a little bit bigger. They just sit on the skin rather than like a liquid where it's going to go into the pores and into stuff. I mean, if you're experienced with these bunny ears kind of thing, you can find a way to work it and make it work for you. But if you want something effortless, like Cinema Secrets has been in my kit forever, like literally 20 years. I keep replacing it. I think it's a professional brand though, but let me try to think of one that's mainstream. Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk is another one that is silicone based. And then Face Atelier is the pro version, but you can also buy it as a normal person to the Giorgio Armani. Giorgio Armani runs for like, I think $68 a bottle Canadian, but the Face Atelier, I think is less than half that price. And it's almost a complete dupe. Again, like silicone based, so the molecules are a little bit bigger. If you have dry skin, normal skin, it's a beautiful foundation. It sits beautifully, sits on top of the skin beautifully. It's glowy without being like overly wet or anything like that. But if you're oily, then silicone is a little bit tricky because it will slip and slide a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So what about if you are on a fixed budget and, Giorgio Armani is a little bit out of that budget? Is there like a drugstore brand that people can go to?
I wish I had an answer to this. I haven't been to the drugstore to buy makeup in a really long time, not because I'm bougie, but because I have a lot of pro discounts. I wait for the Sephora sale twice a year. So like April, usually it's like around April and November. They always have the 30% off. So whatever I need that I can't get directly from a brand, I will get it from there. Like those are the 2 times a year I restock. I want to be frugal unless I have to buy it otherwise. And then if you're buying a foundation at like 30% off for a high-end foundation that you absolutely love, then you're buying it once a year. It's not too bad. Face Atelier, though, is like a perfect dupe for the Giorgio Armani. And it is at a fraction of the cost. Also, a lot of my clients have sworn by the Maybelline Fit Me foundations, and they absolutely are obsessed. So I think that would be a good dupe. I just haven't played with them myself.
Okay.
I mean, I use my eyeliners from there, but I just haven't. Foundations, I'm picky with my kit.
Okay, so I have orange eyes now because I've let this stuff sit on my face. How am I going to apply the foundation?
Okay, so you're going to take foundation.
Foundation or concealer? Where am I going?
We're going to go with foundation first because foundation, we could go in with concealer, but then you're adding coverage where you may not need coverage.
Okay.
And we're adding too many layers. But if we can go in with foundation first, we can see what areas need to be concealed afterward because concealer is a lot thicker too, right? So I like to use like a dense kind of fluffy brush thing. If you can see the video, if you're watching on YouTube, something like this, either side, something small, not too big. I'll put a couple of pumps onto the back of my hand so that my skin will also warm it up. And then I'll press down like this. And I'll press my brush into my hand quite a few times so that all that product goes into the bristles. And then the same way I'm pushing onto my hand, maybe less aggressively, I'll take it to my face and I'll just push it onto my face. So like I'm not swirling, I'm not going back and forth. I'm literally pushing it into my face. And because I've pushed a lot of that product into the brush, I also say for the people that are listening and not watching, when you're pushing the brush into the product onto the back of your hand, take one dab into the product onto the back of your hand and then move it off to the side and keep pushing. What we're trying to do is get that product into the brush so that you kind of have like a smooth effect, not a wet effect on your hand, and then push it onto your skin. So you're not getting a heavy dose of foundation in one area. And then you're just going to go in all over your face, just pushing like kitty cat paws. They're waking you up in the morning, and do that all over your face. And then go back and repeat on your hand if you need more product, and go back and push that all into your face. But we're going to skip right underneath the eye area here because we're going to do that with concealer. Concealer is going to sit better. It's going to last longer. And then we're going to use a different brush for that area. But if you have color corrector on your chin, over any pimples, anything like that, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to take this, you're going to push and just keep covering. And you might need to go back and do a second coat or a third coat. But because we're using such a small amount of product and we're working into the brush and we're pushing it onto the skin, it's a light layer that it's drying in between coats. So you're not going to use the least amount of product that you need. And we're building up layers to get the coverage that you want without going in with a ton of product and having it swoosh around and then it just be really heavy. And you're like, how am I getting this to blend anywhere?
Mm-hmm. I usually use a sponge.
That's totally okay too. Okay. There's no wrong way to do makeup. Okay. You do what works for you. I like a beauty blender sponge, or what kind of sponge?
It's a beauty
or like a triangle.
It's like a teardrop almost. Because
how do you put your foundation on?
I squirt a layer on my hand, and then I wet my beauty sponge, take out all the water out of it, make sure there's no water and it's just nice and bouncy. And then I dab it into my hand, and I dab it around, and then where I didn't put makeup, I'll dab it over there so I'm not getting too much. And then I'll just like dab onto my face.
Amazing. That's perfect too.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure if maybe using the brush technique created a more of a feathered look or an airbrush type of look as opposed to the sponge.
I think it's literally the same thing. I like using the brush because I have control of where I'm putting the product. Whereas like the beauty blender, like you can't see like if it's all along the bottom, if you're hitting it at the right angles. Also, I love a beauty blender. I use it afterward to finish my makeup. I just don't use it to apply my makeup because it soaks up so much product. Because it's a sponge, like you're using a lot of foundation in there as well. So sometimes on clients, I will go in with like a flat foundation brush to apply foundation. And then I'll go back afterward to use my beauty blender. I use my beauty blender for finishing. Okay. So most of the time. So I'll do like my foundation, my concealer, my highlight, all of the things. And when everything's on, and then I'll go back in. But instead of wetting my beauty blender, because I want my makeup to last, I'll spray it with like Urban Decay all-nighter. And then I'll go and I'll press it into my skin. So one, I'm making sure everything's smooth, flawless airbrush. But I'm also setting it with the all-nighter spray to make sure it's going to last me all day as well.
Okay. So if I did apply the orange around my eyes to take care of that dark circles, am I putting the makeup on that, or am I still waiting for the concealer?
No, you're going to rock it like that all day. That's it. That's your leg. Okay. So now that your foundation is on, you skip the under eye area, you're going to get a concealer that is pretty much your actual color. This is to conceal. We're not brightening here. If you still find that you have a little bit of a darkness, you can go in with a concealer that's a little bit darker. I know it's the opposite of what we all want to do, but it'll just help get that coverage better. So I like having a wide range of concealers for a wide range of reasons. Like I'll have my one foundation that I absolutely love, or I'll have my daytime and my nighttime foundation, but I have a lot of concealers, which is kind of ridiculous, but there's method to the madness. So using a concealer that is the same color or a tiny bit darker if you need extra coverage, but we're going to apply it the same way that we did our foundation. So I don't recommend, especially if you have any sort of fine lines that you don't want product to seep into or you don't want it to look cakey or heavy, you're going to put the applicator onto the back of your hand, wipe off some product, and then using like a small dense brush, even like an eyeshadow crease brush, like the round ones that we use for the crease of our eye, that same type of brush, we're going to take a little bit of product just on the tip of the brush. I don't want you to put it on the sides of all of the brush. That is a lot of product. Just a tiny bit on the tip of the brush, and then same thing, pressing it into your hand, making sure that product is worked in there and that there's not like a whole ton of wet spots. And when I'm saying wet spots, I'm kind of talking about like peaks. Like, you know how liquid makes peaks when you pick it up? It's those peaks that we don't want, because if you're getting peaks on your hand, you're going to get peaks on your face. So just making sure it's all in there. You're not getting those peaks anymore. And then moving your hand to the back of the brush. So we're not holding it all the way at the front of the brush like a pencil. We're going further back to loosen our pressure, because we just want to go in here and just lightly tap onto that color corrector and that under eye area. And it might not cover it the first time, but that's okay. We use such a tiny amount of product that we can go back, do it again, and slowly build up in the areas that we need to get that coverage. And just very, very light layers, and really making sure that that product is worked into the brush, because if that product's worked into the brush, it's so much less work that you have to do on your face to blend it into everything else after.
Okay. And so by doing that, does that help eliminate from it setting into those fine lines?
There is nothing that's going to completely erase those fine lines, but the less product that we use, the less setting in that it will do. And then the other thing is, like, if you are worried about it setting in, there's a couple of things that we could do to help minimize it, not completely stop it altogether, because if there is texture, things are going to move, but we want to move a little bit less. So we want to use less product, so it's moving less. We want to use a little bit of powder so that it's like sand, it kind of slows it down for moving, a little bit of powder. And then the other option is, like, if you absolutely hate powder, I'm against it, I don't want it, I don't care how little it is, then skip the powder and then just be okay throughout the day, just taking your finger, like your warm finger, and just lightly pressing it under there. Who cares if you have to touch it up? Better to touch it up and be okay with the finish than having to cake it on or do all of these things and be unhappy with your look. Like, I used to wear liquid lipstick because I hated touching up my lipstick. I would always do liquid lips. I'm like, and I hated the feeling of liquid lips, but I was just lazy that I didn't want to touch it up. And now, as after I turned like 35, I'm like, forget it. I love my Charlotte Tilbury lipsticks. They're creamy, they're hydrating, they don't last for shit. But I'm okay with that because the colors are beautiful. They feel amazing. And I just keep it in my purse now. It's fine. I'll touch it up. I don't care.
Okay. So we lightly applied the concealer under our eyes. And we can you talked about you can put powder. Now, would I be using my loose powder? Because I use the MAC Studio Pro Set Blur because I'm older. I want to blur everything. Well, do I use like my Tarte High Performance press powder?
Carmen, which one do you love?
Which one do I love?
Yeah, which one do you love?
I was
Which one
always
makes your
told
heart
you want to
happy?
do the press powder. I was told you to do the press powder because if I don't like the fine lines, which I don't, this is the one I want to do. I like the blur, but what I don't like about this MAC Blur is that, and I think I talked to you about this offline, is it creates a lot of glow to my face.
Oh, it's one of those.
It's one of those.
Yeah, I bought a couple of those by accident. Okay, well, you can return that. Yes. We don't need that. I don't know why they do this.
They said it's because I have certain areas where I'm dry. So it's supposed to give me the glow, it's supposed to give me the hydration. But I'm like,
some glow is just too much.
Yeah, I'm like, put your sunglasses on because I'm going to like throw your eyes out.
Oh. Okay, so Hourglass makes these light finishing powders and they're amazing. Like You don't even notice them on the skin. But if you do one side of your face and you don't do the other, you notice there's something different about your face. Like, but you don't notice like there's no shimmer or anything that really reflects a ton of light, even though it's light reflecting. It's not obvious, but it just gives the skin a really nice finish. Okay, going back to the compact loose powder question, you use what you want to use. It's all in the technique of how you want to use it. So that the Tarte powder, I'm not sure if that one is, it's probably a pressed compact. So it probably has color to it as well, which makes things a little bit tricky. Because like, oh, are we adding another layer of foundation on top of foundation? Which is cool because that is a look too. Sometimes you want to layer your foundation with foundation to get more coverage. But because I'm not familiar with the Tarte, I'm going to talk about the airbrush, the Charlotte Tilbury airbrush flawless. And these come in minis, which is great. Charlotte Tilbury only has one line of the compact powders anyways. But the good thing about this one is that it doesn't have a ton of color to it. Okay. And it's so finely milled. So I love using this. Okay, we're not talking about how I would use it on myself. We're talking about how I would use it on other people. There's a difference. I like to cake my face sometimes. So I like to cake my face with this, and I use it with a sponge. Like, you know those triangle sponges? So I will like scrub the triangle sponge in here and try to get as much color payoff possible and press it onto my face. But when I'm doing it on other people that don't want it to set into any fine lines and they don't want it to be super powdery, I would take a flat brush or like a dense brush, even like the end of like a clean brush. And instead of like swirling it and then swirling it onto my face, I would just go tap, 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 tap on both sides to press the powder into the brush. And then I would very lightly, not starting with the under eye area first, like probably along the sides of the nose or other shiny areas first, because wherever you put your brush down on your face right now is where you're going to get most of that powder. So I would literally just tap it onto my skin. The same way we were tapping on the foundation, we were using the flat end of the brush to push it into the skin. Now we're going to use the side of the brush to just lightly tap those areas. And that's how we're going to apply our powder. And then whatever's left on the brush afterward, then we can take it and just tap it under the eye area. And that's going to give you the least amount of product because, again, we don't want product moving, but it's going to help keep things set and also help keeping things like not so shiny.
Mm-hmm. So now we have our canvas together. Where do we go? Do we do the eyes first or do we do cheeks, nose?
Okay, I'm going to go back to this picture. Selma and Hallie. So in the picture, especially the one of Hallie, she definitely has some contouring going on she has some blush going on. But because it's so glowy and melted into her skin, I really think it's cream. So I think before we get to the powder, if we're going to go by this example, before you powder, we're going to go in with like a cream bronzer or a cream blush. And we're going to apply it the same way that we did our foundation. So remember we talked about putting it on the back of our hand? Usually cream blushes, you need the tiniest little drop. And if you're worried that it's going to be too much when you put it onto your skin, mix it in with whatever leftover concealer or foundation you have on your hand to tone it down a little bit. And then apply that first before you do your powder. So you've done your foundation. So we've done your color correcting. We've done your foundation. We did your concealer. And now we're going to go in with a cream blush just on the apples of the cheek here because we're going to be youthful. So most of the color is over here. Forget the TikTok videos that are telling you to put it here, 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 everywhere. Like focus it on the apples of your cheek, just under your pupil. And then you could pull it back a little bit to get like that contoured effect. But most of the color needs to be on the apples of your cheek. And then you can go in with a cream bronzer or a deeper foundation. That's only, you could skip these steps too. This is just going back to the example photo because she does have like this contouring going on, but it's not like a gray chiseled stone bone contour. It's very warm. Mm-hmm. So just going in on the outside of your face, kind of making a 3 is probably the easiest way to do it. The simplest way to remember, that's the way I do every single morning. I take a cream contour and I'll go along my hairline. I'll go down my cheeks, like where my blush would go. And then I'll go along my jawline and just kind of warm up the perimeter of my face, making a 3 on both sides, like a 3 and an E. And then I would go in with my powder.
Okay. Because I found that, I do have the cream blush and the cream bronzer. Yeah. It looks like a crayon, sort of like a big fat crayon. And I've seen like YouTube videos where, and I don't know how these women do it, they like do a line on their face and then they rub it with the brush. And I'm like, I can't get that stuff to move. Once I put it on my face, it's not moving. I'm not blending. I'm irritating my skin.
Especially when the product gets older too, right? It loses that slip too. But I feel like putting everything on the back of your hand first, working it into the brush, is just so much less effort. Because it's true, like once you get a straight line on your face, then you're working to blend it out. And I do that sometimes. But again, like I do that when I have a lot of time. I don't do that in the morning. In the morning, I'm putting it on the back of my hand and I'm working my brush, and my brush is blending it for me as I'm applying. It's just so much easier. The only reason I would do it differently is if I wanted like nighttime straight chisel. I really wanted darker lines, but we don't want that during the day because you're going to see it. It's going to look like road marks on your face, and we don't want that. We need it to look good in real life, not great under like all these studio lighting, right?
Yeah. And what I enjoyed about like Halle Berry there is I could see the slight chisel, but I felt like that slight chisel was only enhancing her beauty. I mean, it was like bringing out her cheeks so that you could see how beautiful her cheeks are and, you know, and then how beautiful her eyes are. And I felt the same way with Selma too.
Yeah, both of them. And if you look really closely at their cheeks, like you see the blush on the apples of your cheeks, it might be pulled back a little bit, but then their contour is not really harsh. Like it's more of a bronzer than it is a contour. And then even their blush is like a warm, like orangey, bronzy tone as well. Like everything's very monotone.
And because those two women are women of color, there are certain colors that we can't wear because we just look like we got into a fight before.
You can wear whatever you want to wear. Literally whatever you want to wear. But I get what you're saying. No, that was hard because even women of color have different undertones and different seasons. And I'm not going to go down the season rabbit hole again. TikTok had me questioning my whole life for way too long with those color analysis and what season I am. I went from autumn to winter to bright spring. I think I've settled on bright spring with my own professional opinion, with my self-analysis and all these TikTok videos, but it's so hard. And like that goes to show like it's literally, it's more than just your color tone. Like there's all of these things that go into it. And if you want to wear pink, you can wear pink. You want to wear purple, you can wear purple. You want to wear blue? Go ahead. It's just got to be the right shade. That's all it is, the right undertone and the right shade. But I find when you match your lips, your blush, your eyeshadow, everything just looks very soft and like unified rather than going with like, okay, that was a bad example. I was going to say red lip and pink cheeks, but I do that sometimes too. But it's a little bit trickier. Like it looks great on some people. But let's say like you want to do a look that everything just feels very soft, pulled together, not overly played up, but you still feel really pretty and beautiful in. Then going in with like, okay, let's say we want to play up this bronzer look, like going in with like an orangey, peachy or bronzery blush tone, and then sticking with those same type of peachy, nudie tones on your lip, and then doing a wash of bronzer over your eyes, and all of it together just comes together beautifully. I don't know if that made sense. I'm like good at like physically doing it on people, but then having to explain it afterward, my thought process is just like a circus in my brain, you know?
Well, I'm pretty sure you see this where as we get older, our eyebrows start to drop. We start to there's less space above our eyelids.
Yeah.
And so our eyeshadow's a little different. You know, I'd love to be able to show my eyes off like you, but you still have more lift here and you can show off your eyes. But we tend to have a little bit of a droop. So how could we make our eyes look beautiful, but at the same time, you know, work our eyeshadow like Halle Berry or Selma Hayek, because their eyes look beautiful in those pictures.
And their eyes are so minimal. Like if you look, okay, so Selma has like this wicked smoky eye, whole edgy look going on over here. But you notice like it's all to her eye shape. Like, but he also had an artist do this, right? Like it's very shaped. And like you could do this. How do I explain this? Okay. Because it's angled up.
Well, it looks like a cat.
I can tell
what
you.
Is it? Like a cat? What is that?
It is. It's a
cat
very
eye?
cat eye shape. So like it's angled up. So I'm trying to think of how to explain this for like listeners as well. Like if they're not watching, because I can't just point to my eye right now. It's a little bit tricky. Like it's lifted, it's angled up, and it's very sticking to the eyelid area. Like it's not going high up into the crease, high into the eyebrows, because you still want to make sure that you see that space and everything is really shaped. And like the easiest way to do this, honestly, like if you're looking for a hack and you want to do this with low effort, you go in with your colors, do your eyeshadow, forget trying to get this perfect cat eye, like just blend everything out towards your temples, take a makeup wipe, and then just pull it from like under your eye toward your temples. And there you go. You have your cat eye. As long as you stay like on your lid and you're blending out towards your ears and toward your temples. If you just take a makeup wipe, like so start with your eyes and start doing your foundation first, do that, take a makeup wipe from under your eyes and just literally go like this and clean up everything underneath. That is the easiest way to do a cat eye in like half the time.
You know, I've seen people do, and I've never done it, Scotch tape.
Yes, Scotch tape too. Okay, but if you are going to go the Scotch tape route, make sure, please make sure that you detack it at least once on the back of your hand. I feel like I have to tell you a story. My mom, bless her heart, she has been my guinea pig growing up. Like anytime I had like new beauty services, new trainings, new waxing, lashes, absolutely anything. Like she's always first a model for me, like always putting her body parts at risk for me. Like she's down. This one time when I first started lashing, I was using her as my model, but I had run out of under eye pads, right? The ones that we use to tape down the bottom lashes. My dad works for a label manufacturing company. So I'm like, this is amazing. Let me grab one of his labels. Did her whole lash set. She must have sat there for like 3 hours trying to do a whole set. Looked like a half set. This is probably like my first or second person I've ever worked on. Probably my first. Went to go take off the tape from underneath the eyelids afterward. Totally ripped her skin. Yeah. I never made that mistake again.
It's a trooper.
And I never charged her for services. I don't think I would have, even if that didn't happen, like till today. She always tips me though. She's so cute. She would not leave ever without tipping me. But point of the story being, well, you have to detack that tape at least once before you put it down on your skin. And then when you're removing it, like please hold your skin down and peel very slowly. Like it's really important to hold your skin down for the part that's not peeling with the tape, and then slowly pull.
And that is exactly why I've never done the tape, because I'm like, you know, because I already told you about my magnetic eyelash story.
Oh my God, that was horrific, Carmen. Horrific.
I do not want to rip my skin off, and then I'll really have like a cat look with red.
Oh my God. Oh, you just put that image of your lashes and your bare lash line back into my head.
And for those people that have never heard this story, because I've never really told it other than to...
Everyone needs to hear the story. It's a public service announcement.
The other day, I got on this bandwagon where I wanted to wear fake eyelashes because everybody wears them and they look so cute. And so I decided to jump on the magnetic eyelash bandwagon. And so we went to Maui, and we were at poolside, and I saw this one girl who had her beautiful false eyelashes on. And so the next day I thought, I want to look cute just like her. My husband rented a cabana. I'm going to be under this cabana. Why not? So I put on my makeup. My husband's like, why are you putting on your makeup? We're going to go to the pool. And I said, because I'm not going to go in the pool. I'm just going to sit here and, be the cabana queen. And I put my eyelashes on. And there I was thinking, oh, I'm so cute. I am so cute. Went out to dinner that night. I left them on all day at the pool, went out to dinner. And then that night when I was taking off my makeup, I'm like, I got to take my eyelashes off first before I start removing stuff. And I tugged to try to remove them. And I'm like, whoa, what the heck? Because it hurt. It hurt really bad. And so I'm like wondering, what happened here? And I thought I got to pull a little harder. So I pulled a little harder. And when I pulled a little harder, I ripped my skin off.
Oh my God.
And my eyelashes were, the skin on the top of my eyelids were just basically gone, and it was stuck on the magnetic eyelashes. So
I didn't even know that was possible. So I'm saying everyone needs to know this story. Literally, it reminds me of that scene from Matilda. Like, the fibers are fused to the head. The fibers are fused to the head. Oh my God. So you just had like a bare, raw lash line for the rest of your vacation. You were swimming like that in the sun like that, putting sun. Oh God. Ah.
No makeup the next day. I didn't look cute because it burns so bad. It burned so bad to just wash my face, burn my face to take a shower. It was bad.
It sounds, oh. Yeah, yeah. No, I don't think, I know you said it was like just for that trip that it happened and you still wear magnetics after that. I could never. I would never. Like I have them in my drawer and I've always been like kind of iffy about them to begin with. And like after hearing that, like nah, they can just sit there.
Yeah. And in fact, this afternoon I put them out and I thought, I'm going to wear them. And I thought, nah, I'm not going to wear them. What if the same thing happens? Because, my studio light's going to be pointing right at my eyes.
And speaking of lashes, like that is such an easy way to just elevate a look. If you don't want to do a lot of eyeshadow and you don't like doing a lot of eyeshadow, just a false pair of lashes, filling in your eyebrows a little bit, a pretty lip color, like you're done. You're done. It's all in the base. And everything else after that is just like a definition and details.
And for those people that have never worn fake eyelashes and are going to steer away from the magnetic ones, which ones would you recommend? I mean, I know you're biased, but
I know. I'm also old school, like, because I learned with the strip lashes, but I've recently started seeing these trends on TikTok where they have the cluster lashes and they put them from the bottom instead of the top. And the videos make it seem like you can do this in 30 seconds. It does not take 30 seconds, at least not the first couple of times. Because I tried this on vacation and my daughter was like, let's go to the pool. Let's go to the pool. I'm like, okay, let me just get my lashes on. It took me almost like an hour, like easily like 40 minutes. And I am a lash stylist. Like I do lash extensions. I've been a makeup artist. I put lashes on people all the time. It was just a new technique. Like you literally just got to have patience. But the second time I tried it, I got it down to like 15 minutes. I've only done it the 2 times so far. So I really think you can get this down to like 5 minutes easily. The thing is like when you're doing cluster lashes, you're doing it from underneath. It's a whole different look. They look so natural. They're so light. You don't feel them all day. They're not heavy. They use less glue. So all of the appeal is there. You just need to have a little bit of patience just watching those videos and just practicing just the placement. And like, the best thing to do is like, instead of waiting for a special event to pull out the videos and pull out all your supplies and do it, just like a day-to-day where you want to feel a little fancier, you want to feel a little cute, you're at the grocery store, you're wearing a proper outfit instead of sweats today because like, okay, let me get out a little bit differently today. Just put on like 2 pieces, like 2 clusters on the outer corners of your eye. Use like a larger one and a medium one, or a medium and a small, so it blends and transitions. You'll get like this little cat eye effect. But that's the perfect way to practice so that when it does come to the event, you've had the practice of putting the glue on the lash, sticking them there, and just, I think the hardest part is just waiting for that glue to get tacky. And that might be a problem with my own patience. Just waiting for it to get sticky enough to stick it on so that you don't have to keep playing with it. That might be the key. I think I might just crack the code. I think you just have to wait a little bit longer to put them on.
And do you have to put mascara on when you do that?
You don't have to. Okay, no, wait. I take that back. If you're only putting on 1 or 2 on the ends, then definitely put mascara on the rest of your lashes so that they blend. Because otherwise, you're gonna have like just 2 pieces sticking out on this side. You need mascara. Like curl them and put mascara on, especially focusing on that inner half so that they do transition really well. On all of my clients, when I am working on them, I always curl. I always put on mascara. Like I just feel like it's just part of the service. On myself, when I'm getting ready in the mornings, I don't always put on I don't always put mascara on my lashes. But I have dark hair, so it blends a little bit better. If I'm going to be fancy nighttime, yes, I'll put mascara on. But the reason I don't put mascara on my top lashes, I'll put it on my bottom still, is because sometimes I want to reuse my lashes. So like when I take them off at the end of the day with like micellar water, I spray them down with alcohol. I only reuse mine once. I know people say you can reuse them like 20 times. I personally think that's disgusting. I think Carmen will think the fact that I reuse mine even once is disgusting. Because you wouldn't even sleep with your magnetics that night, right?
Wouldn't. I'm glad I didn't. They probably would have been more stuck to my eyes.
So I like to not put mascara on them so I can reuse them once. But if you're reusing your lashes, like please clean them. Spray them with alcohol, 70% alcohol, making sure that they're saturated, has time to evaporate and kill stuff. And if you constantly touch your eyes throughout the day, then just don't reuse your lashes. Just don't do it. It's not worth your eyesight. It's not worth getting anything. It's gross, but we all do gross things sometimes.
So tell me, what about lips? Because a lot of people say, oh, when you reach over 40, over 50, you'll find this out when you get older.
Like, what
we start to
happens?
lose a little bit of volume or a lot of volume in our lips. And so I've seen some TikTok videos that say, when you put your lip liner, don't go this far because, I don't know, I think someone said you look like the Joker.
Oh, when you go all the way to the corner.
Yeah, to the corners, shorten it up.
I mean, I don't think we go to the corners that much anymore, period. Because, yeah, it just smudges on these two little outer corners here. I kind of just go to here on everyone, though. Yeah. How do they phrase these things looking like the Joker? I'm picturing the Joker now. Lip liner. Okay, so you can't just put everyone in a box like that. Everyone's lip shape is different. This is not an age thing. This can't be an age thing. Because, like, some people have beautiful, full lips until, like, they're 80. So this is just, like, it might happen with age, but it's not for everybody. So if you have lips that are drooping on the outer edge, this is rare. It's not everyone. Just, I hate TikTok
the volume,
sometimes.
Sweetie. The volume.
It's the volume?
They're not as, as like puckery as they used to be. But maybe I want to look a little puckery.
If you want to look puckery, then you line your lips as usual. Skip the outer corners, like these outer little indents here, just because, like, they bleed. They have moisture there. It's just not a good look. Crusties build up. It's just a whole thing. Line your lips as usual first, following the lip line as it is. Then go back, and then you can just go at the bottom of your lip, just overline the bottom a little bit, overline the top a little bit, and leave, like, the rest of it alone. But when you overline the top, you obviously have to connect the top to the rest of it over here. The whole thing is, when you're overlining, that you just don't want to overline the outer corners from the top and the bottom. So you're kind of mainly overlining the center area of your lips and making sure that it blends with the rest. And then that way it still looks really natural. But it also, using, like, a highlighter in, like, the middle of the lip area is also going to reflect light and make them look fuller. If you are using a lip color, taking a tiny little bit of your lighter concealer and adding a dab of that to the center of the lip, or gloss to the center of the lip, is also going to mimic the illusion of it looking lighter and brighter in the center of it as well.
Would you use a dark lip liner and a lighter lip color?
Either or. I know everyone's always like, use a darker color to do your lip lining and to do your overlining. There's so many good lip colors out there. Like, again, going back to Charlotte Tilbury, I can overline. Like, today I used the Pillow Talk lip liner and the Pillow Talk lipstick, and I overlined. Like, I didn't go in with MAC Whirl or any brown liner, and it's perfectly fine. They're creamy, they last long, they're pigmented, they're so smooth that, like, I can get that overline at nighttime if I want to be, like, bougie and, like, a little bit like a Kardashian, and I know I'm not going to be in daylight. Like, if I know, like, it's going to be dark outside, because there's stuff you can do at nighttime, you can't get away in the dark. Then I will pull out, like, my brown liner. I will overline. I did this once for work, and it was not good. I got into work and I was like, what did I do? And this was, like, my first week at a new job. And, like, you could literally see, like, they were just looking way too big, and it didn't look natural at all. But that at nighttime and taking a photo, especially with flash lighting, would look amazing. But I would say, if you're very comfortable with overlining and you want it to be more dramatic, sure, go for the brown liner, like a medium brown liner. Otherwise, just choose something that's very creamy, very pigmented, and just doing that overlining, like with the Charlotte Tilbury lip liner, like that. It's called the lip cheat. That's probably why they probably made it specifically for that, considering it's called lip cheat. That's perfectly enough. Like, that, it'll do the job. And then you don't have to worry about blending, like, different shades together, making sure the brown blends in with your lipstick. Like, I'm all about not making things complicated, making it as simple as possible, and yet getting the best result.
Okay. So you just did my makeup for either the graduation or the wedding that I'm going to go to. And so this is a big event. I want it to last all evening. I don't want to have to touch it up because I don't like touching up my makeup. So how am I going to ensure that makeup stays on?
Okay. So when we did your foundation and then we went over it with a beauty blender at the end, we sprayed it so that was one layer of, like, protection. And now we're going to take that Urban Decay all-nighter or something hardcore. So not like the MAC Fix Plus, because that's going to give you hydration. If you're feeling powdery by this step, you can go in with the Fix Plus, but we haven't used that much powder, so you shouldn't need the Fix Plus. But you do need a setting spray because we have not used that much powder. We have like creams on our face. We have liquids going on. So we do need to set that and make sure it's not going to go anywhere. So now you've done like your makeup, you've done your blush, you've done your eyes, you've done your lashes. At this point, if you feel like you're getting shiny, you actually do need to go in with more powder. Probably a lot more powder than we did the first time. So go a little hand with your powder. That's a step if you're getting shiny, because if you're shiny now, you're going to be shiny later on. So before you hit it with setting spray, make sure your powder is in check, and then use a setting spray that is designed to make your makeup last, not the ones for hydration, the ones that's going to make your makeup last, and go ham with that. And that's going to lock it in as well.
And so what powder am I going to set my face before I do my spray?
So because I'm not going for brightening, if I was going to go for brightening, then I would go in with like the Huda baking powders or like the Kat Von D powders or something like that. Because I'm going for the glow, I'm trying to get rid of some of that matte. I would just go in with my compact powder and just press it into those areas. If you have a lighter powder, because usually when you get that glow, it's again, like it's usually this inner corner of the eye area, right around the nostrils, a little bit above the lips and the sides of the mouth. It's usually the areas where the oils start peeking through. That's all the center of your face. And usually we like our center of our face to look brighter because it just makes everything look nicer. So going in with a powder that's a little bit lighter is really helpful that as well. If you want to use a translucent powder, you can, but we already have a pressed powder. So we just go back in with that pressed powder.
Okay. And then we spray that setting spray, and are we good to go?
Yeah, you spray that setting spray, you're good to go. If you're looking in the mirror after you spray the setting spray, you're like, something's missing. You know, like everything doesn't feel as smooth as it should. It feels like it's missing that je ne sais quoi. Then the Hourglass ambient lighting powders, like just take that on a big fluffy brush or any brush, literally any powder-ish brush, and do like a swoosh of that, like under the eyes, through the T-zone kind of thing. And that just does something to the skin as well without leaving it super shiny. Like it reflects light, but without like blinding you like the sun.
So if you want to look a little bougie.
Yeah, you're like a little bougie, then the Hourglass ambient lighting powders are amazing. But you know what? Before you go out and buy that, please test it on the back of your hand, because what it does, it's so minimal, but it's so beautiful. And I don't want anyone to take it home and spend that money and be like, what did she recommend to me? Like, I can't see anything. So please test it out. Like I think it's absolutely stunning, but to each their own. And I just don't want you to hate me later.
Start sending you a bunch of hate emails.
I know, like, what is this? It didn't do anything. Because like I see stuff on reviews on Sephora where it's products that I love and people are hating it underneath. And I'm like, but that's not my experience with it. And they start questioning your own experience. I'm like, what?
I always think about that perhaps it's a user error.
Yeah. That definitely makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Especially the skincare ones. We're like, this burned my skin. I'm like, who told you to use Polish Choice BHA every single day? That is not something you use every single day. So don't get all your advice on TikTok. There's some great advice out there, but you really like got to vet your choices.
Mm-hmm. So Neelam, what is the one thing that you would want a woman listening or watching this today to hold close to her heart?
Oh my God, stop picking at yourself. You're absolutely freaking beautiful. Like everyone is in their own way. I know that's such a cheesy, cliche thing to say, but the thing that I cannot get over is that every time someone sits down in my chair, it doesn't matter if they're 20, it doesn't matter if they're 80, they're always just pointing out something or an insecurity or something they hate or something that they want. And I think that we all just have to get out into the real world a lot more often. Online, it's hard. Like we're seeing everyone's best selves, everyone's filtered selves. And we begin to think that that is real life. And that's what we should be like. And that's what everyone should strive to be. Or if you're not enough. And I think that if we just got out into the real world a little bit more, spend a little bit more time appreciating what we have, where we are in each phase of our life, we'll spend less time looking back and being like, oh, I should have been happy. I was so cute then. Or like, look at this. Like, look at my hair color here, my hair length, or like my eyes. Like everything was beautiful. And then you spend so much time picking yourself apart instead. Like everyone's just too hard on themselves. And there just needs to be more love and kindness to go around, and just knowing that you're absolutely perfect the way that you are. And then also like my best friend told me this when we started doing hair and makeup, like literally anybody can look like a supermodel with the right hair, the right makeup, the right lighting, the right team, like absolutely everybody. But that's not an everyday thing. So for that one event, I don't know what I'm trying to say anymore. I keep going off on tangents. So like following my heart, and then all of a sudden my brain takes over.
You're funny. So for the people that cannot get services from you because they don't live in Canada, how can they use your app?
Okay, so my app is actually for other makeup artists. So if you are booking another makeup artist and you want them to remember everything about your conversation, your email details, what you want for your look, your inspo pictures, it can all be loaded up into that app. And then they can just pull it up on either your wedding day, your daughter's wedding day, your special event, and all of their conversation, the pictures, your notes are all there to just recreate that look without having to like go through emails and all the back and forth of figuring out what we were supposed to do this day.
Oh, so it's kind of like running notes of what the expectation was, what the bride, everybody's expectation was, so that you can
Yes,
just go in and get it done without having to ask questions when
exactly
everybody's
that.
stressed out up to here.
Literally. So before this app, like my brain was all over the place. Like I would have so many bridals from so many different teams as well. And sometimes I didn't even have the bride's name in my calendar. It was just like this team show up this time. And I'd walk into the house and the bride is so excited to see me because we did her trial like a year before. And I'm standing there like, I recognize you, but I don't know who you are. I don't know when we did your trial. I don't know where your notes are. I don't know if they were in a notebook, in my notes app, I emailed them to myself. Like everything was so scattered. So we just me and my husband just designed this app where every time we do a trial, I put everything into the app, all the client's information, things like that. So when I show up on the house on the wedding day, I pull it up and all of the details from her trial are there, placement, photos, absolutely everything. And it's great because it's any special moments from that day when I'm with the bride that I want to use in like a thank you card later or in an Instagram caption. I can write down those details before I leave and just open it up and have it to reference. But also, like if I'm doing a client for a special event or if the bride is not getting a trial, I can just send them a link and they can upload all of their inspo pictures and all of their notes straight into that app. So when I show up on their house on the wedding day, I'll open the app, open the date. Everything's there for me. I know exactly what I'm doing. And it saves so much time during the booking, especially when it's a bridal party of like 8 people. That consultation can take like 10 minutes sometimes. So saving 10 minutes off of everyone's service, that's 80 minutes. And if you got to get ready for like 11 a.m., that's like 2 hours, 1 hour. My math's not mathing today. Like an hour of service time that we can reduce from the service as well, right?
That's great. That is so good. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I will make sure to include your links in the show notes so that any professional makeup artist can buy your app and start using that to just make their life so much easier.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. It was just nice to have like a raw conversation and just do this one-on-one like this.
It was. All right. Thank you. All right, ladies and some gents. Now you're officially in the know all about things. No more eyelash disasters, no more tape, no more magnet, and definitely no more drama. Huge thanks to Neelam for sharing her inside tips on looking fabulous without all the fuss. By the way, if you're a professional makeup artist and want to scoop in on Neelam's amazing app, the one that keeps all your clients' notes, photos, and inspo in one streamlined spot, head on over to createthebestme.com/EP109. And don't forget to hit subscribe and come back next week for another episode packed with inspiration just for you. Until then, keep dreaming big, take care of yourself, and remember, you are beautiful, strong, and capable of creating the best version of yourself. Thank you for watching. Catch you next week. Bye.